Welcome to Prepper Talk Radio, radio for the ready-minded, the podcast for the prepared, where we focus on God, family, and country. We're excited to talk to you today about some exciting things that are happening in the world with artificial intelligence. Before we do that, though, we want to make sure that you go to preppertalkradio.com and sign up for our free resources there, download those, and join our email list so we can keep in touch. And also join our Facebook group at Emergency Prep and Self-Reliance. We have some great conversations going on in there. And while you're at it, check out our Instagram page at, I think it's also Prepper Talk Radio. And you can like there, and we're sharing clips and different ideas, tips, and tricks as well on Instagram. And so we'd love to have you join us on Instagram as well. So wherever you are, wherever you're listening, we'd love for you to give us a 5-star review on whether Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever other system you're using. We'd love to have a 5-star review from you if we deserve it, if we've earned it. And with that, we'll jump into our topic today, which is AI, good, bad, or BS. And we're going to talk about our take. And I think we're going to have some exciting conversations, just even amongst us, about AI and what its ramifications are. So where do you guys want to start?
That's always the question. Where do we start?
The thing about AI is we have all different perspectives on it. And up until a few minutes ago, I didn't know one of the particulars on Shane's perspective. And I'm like, wow, that's really intriguing. Do we want to wait till the end on that? Do we want to do that in the beginning? So here, how does AI affect us currently right now? So let's start there.
It's a huge
and then
topic,
we'll dive into the massive, dare I say, it's not a spoiler, the massive unmasking of the wizard behind the curtain.
Okay.
Yeah, but so you gotta wait till the end.
Wizard
of
Oz.
So let's start at the beginning then, right? So the beginning to me is what we're being fed, right? What we see on online, all the news in the stock market, what's driving, the stock market right now, which really is a lot of AI speak. And where did this get started? Where is it going? And why is AI so stinking popular right now? Why is it such a hot topic? I mean, we don't have time to cover this, so I'm wondering where I should start, right? Because we may go down a rabbit hole that we can't recover from.
Well, I think you're right, Shane, though, that it started with, first of all, we're being fed a whole bunch of stuff. When something is free, and there's a lot of AI technology right now that's free. When something is free, who's the real product? Then it's us. As we feed it, as we use it, the powers that be are collecting that data, and they're collecting the information, and that's how they're forming this AI. Now, I think of course, the marketing is, we're going to help your life be easier. We're going to have all these wonderful new innovations that are going to make life more, it's going to be smoother. We're going to take time away from the things that you have to do. So let the AI do it for you so that you can have time with your family, and you can be, time with your, doing what you want to do. Let AI do all the heavy lifting. And so there's a genuine reality to, like, you know what, we want progress. We want to have things that make life easier for us. But where does it go too far?
Exactly. And what we've seen over the years and decades and the past century is when the US gets in trouble financially, let me step back a little bit. When we see a decline in, call it GDP, whatever you want to call it, which I think is a terrible number to use anyway, but we can either inflate our way out of it, or we can innovate our way out of that. And in there were the roaring 20s when the US is just a powerhouse of manufacturing, and the US was not a debtor nation at the time. And now it's a complete opposite. So part of that hope, I think, of AI is innovating our way out of the trouble that we're in right now. So I think that's one of the hopes of AI. I don't subscribe to that in particular, but it's on the table that it could potentially
cons.
Exactly. It could potentially innovate the US's way out of the troubles that we're in. And we are all in trouble, even though you and I didn't create this mess personally. You know, that's when I use the word we, or I'm not going to say when referring to the United States of America or the U.S. government, I'm not going to include myself in that. I'm not going to say we. I'm going to be more specific. The you know, and so forth created these issues, not me myself. I don't want to be associated with those types of issues. But I think there is some hope, but I don't think it's being advertised that it actually is. Right.
Okay. So you feel like the advertising of what AI isn't actually in line with what it's intended to do, but
Well,
also it's more detrimental?
I think so. I think in the end, and that's what I think what we're going to get to at the end of this conversation. But I think to start out is AI has been talked about for decades and decades on the sci-fi movies, right? That's kind of where it started. We talk about the Matrix, we talk about all these movies
Mhm.
about how AI is going to take over. Like, you know, of course, Matrix is something we refer to all the time, and so do
Mhm.
a lot of people out there.
Singularity, stuff like that.
Exactly, which
Terminator.
exactly, which was the prequel, not prequel. The
Dun, dun,
You're
dun.
distracted. Anyway,
The
what's the word I'm
precursor?
looking for? It was
Prequel.
Prequel
prequel
to Matrix,
to the
yes.
Matrix, right? But I think it's a lie. I think it's all a lie. I think it's fake. And at least right now it is. I think what we're seeing with AI, and not to get too far ahead of myself, is that it's just programming and supercomputers is all that we're seeing right now. And there's a lot of proof to prove that as well.
Okay. So what's interesting is because like looking at programming, any type of program, there is a programmer bias integrated into code. And there's a
Mm-hmm.
really fantastic study I saw, I think it was 5 years ago on this, but it basically talked about how any code written is going to have a bias based on the author who wrote the code.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you're saying though is that you think that AI is really just code using super processing to be able to make decisions based on whatever algorithm is
Well, and of
created,
course,
right?
right, and of course, part of those algorithms are going out and scanning and searching and using the internet just as or similar to what a search engine would do, right?
Mhm.
Uh, and a lot of things that I'm seeing is that are AI. I'm using the air quotes AI generated are simply searching out in the internet and taking portions and putting something together, right? Uh, it is not really a search engine. I don't know how to properly describe this, but there are a lot of terms that are being used in part of this hype. You know, they're using Web3, augmented reality, generative AI, which is kind of the new one, which is the higher level of AI. Which
Mhm.
it's again, it's all hype in my opinion at this point. Um, but that it is being faked. There's plenty of examples of where this is being faked at the moment, which leads me to believe that most of this is fake. It's just we don't see the backside. We don't see what's happening. Like for example, the Amazon stores that were opened in the Northwest, I think, where you just walk in, you grab something off the shelf, you get to your shopping, and you'll walk out, and then they send you a bill for what. And what was proven is that this were 1,000 people in India watching cameras, and instead of, as you walk out, the commercial shows you walk out of the store, you look at your phone, oh, there's my bill. How cool is that? No, it took hours for you to get your receipt. And so these people in India were watching these cameras and then sending you your
Really?
bill after. And so it was completely fake. And maybe their excuse is, well, that's how we are programming our model, right? We're using these people to program the model so that eventually AI, air quotes, can do this, right?
Okay.
And so that's just one of a number of different examples. There were actually workers in Kenya as well doing similar with other models of AI. Obviously there's Chat GPT and other AI models. I think Google has their own and so forth. And I'm not knowledgeable enough to actually say the names of these different models, but that's really what's behind this. I mean, look at, and I'm rambling again. Look at Tesla. I mean, how many years have they been saying that their self-drive auto drive is going to be, it's going to be next year, and look at the troubles they've had the past several years.
Yeah, several accidents have been caused.
Accidents, people die, people
But
get run.
they've done. I mean, of all the, look at the numbers. Is it a percentage so low that it's acceptable according to fatality turn,
like Goldbacks, right?
Statistically speaking, it's zero, or maybe it's nothing. In terms of statistics. Right. But hey, that guy who died, it meant everything to him.
Yeah, exactly. The family, yeah, absolutely.
It's interesting. It's like you bring up a lot of really good points, and you brought up Tesla. And what's funny is, I know that they're working on their own AI. Good old Elon, but he's telling everyone AI is going to ruin everything, right? He's like the biggest proponent against saying stay away from it, while he's backdoor building it
and coming up with brain chips
AI.
Well.
And there's the brain chip, and then there's also you said AGI, which I want to identify for everyone. That's artificial general intelligence, right?
Or generative. I guess it depends on who's you're referring to, but
okay. Well, the only one I've heard of is context based. Cognitive ability, cognitive function is what they're calling AGI. Is that what you're referring to?
I don't know that I have come across a good definition that I find acceptable.
This is also fluid.
That,
it's changing every day, so
yeah,
it could be something new tomorrow.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
it's like watching for Superman, is what you're saying. It's a bird. It's a plane. Oh, it's Superman.
It's AGI, whatever that is.
It's yeah. So okay. Here's my take. Like, I see a ton of people using AI to write. And this is what's funny. They're writing content for social media. They're writing books. They're writing downloadable documents. They're writing instructionals. And what's funny is YouTube actually just sent out a message to all the YouTubers saying those are going to be flooding they're already flooding, but they're going to be flooding the entire platform, and they're going to be restricted as they identify that it's a AI based content, because they're already found out just using their watch statistics, everyone's steering away from those. So once they find that's what you're using, they're going to suppress those channels. So when it comes to like the user experience and the interface and what's going on, like I'll open up an email that's been marketed to me and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is 100% bull AI, no thought into this email.
Yeah.
And I delete those. Like I delete those. And if it's from someone I thought I trusted, now I unsubscribe from those. And so it's like, okay, there's definitely a slippery slope. But what I've read is that when it comes to AI, what is the actual effect on jobs? One study says 29% of Americans, or 29% of American work tasks are being replaced with AI.
And that's really, in the way I see it, I mean, it's what's really happening is, yes, computers are getting more advanced, machines are getting more advanced, and programming is getting more advanced, and because computers are getting more and more powerful. And that's where the supercomputer comes in, and that's where these super chips that coming from NVIDIA are coming in that are $30,000 a chip, that are so incredibly fast they can process, I mean, so many processes within microseconds, more than a standard computer or phone or anything. So that, for me, that's all that I see. That's all I see.
Well, yeah, but go back, like, okay, so they say 29% is being replaced by AI, but it's workflow processes. That in and of itself is a mechanized system.
Yeah.
If A, then B. If C, then D.
Right.
It's 100% automated based on a trigger or an action. And whatever somebody does, it then automates the next step. It's not AI.
Exactly.
That's programming, right?
Exactly.
The message may be generated by a substantial learning module creating text messages or emails to try to get you to do something, and then measuring through an algorithm the effectiveness of that message and the response, right? Which is what we've all been using for years, different algorithms to identify and track and trend and report. I feel like that's nothing new or different, but
It's
I
like back
feel
in
it's
the day when you had a
more
macro.
available. Yeah, say that again, Paris.
I said it's like back in the day when you had a macro that you could record for like keystrokes on your system. You click one button and then the macro would just blah 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 blah. You can do the automation, and that's not That's not really AI, but I feel like there's a lot of that automation now that is being mistaken for AI, probably. And so,
well, and I think what's the most dangerous part about, and maybe not the most dangerous, but what's dangerous about AI is that it's being fed by a lot of bad information. And who's to say, what bad information is? But what I think many people assume is that, okay, if it came from AI, it's correct, it's true, right? Whereas I've been watching, quite a few commentators saying, okay, here's examples where the results from a search from AI or a question have been absolute baloney, just been bunk, been not true, and it's been proven. But all it is again is it's just showing that it's an algorithm that's out doing a search and pulling in generic information and putting together an answer. Yet people rely on that for for truth, for something of quality, right? Just like a Google search, right? Uh, you will not find anything in the alternative media, or very little in the alternative media from a Google search, right? You've got to use a different browser like Brave or something like that to actually find the answer to a conspiracy minded question, right? You're only going to get leftist answers that are monitored and certified, whatever you want to call it, from those types of questions you ask Google. And you just can't trust those. Obviously, I think hopefully everyone who's listening to this understands that if you do a Google search for something that's truly important, like say the Kennedy assassination, that's a pretty hot topic in the past couple of years or so, it's not going to tell you the truth. It's going to tell you what it wants to tell you. And I think that's one of the big dangers of AI in general, that it's going to
what's interesting is that now, speaking of that, Shane, I think once it comes so obvious that they can't deny it anymore, like for example, the Hunter Biden, I mean, this is not to take a detour here, but the Hunter Biden diary, his daughter's diary, like you can now look that up and search as they changed it from conspiracy to true on some of the stuff. So there are some things out there that are like, oh crap, we can't ignore this anymore. The volume is just too large, but they'll still do what they do. I think they'll still do what they can to keep it suppressed. I do think that AI has a place for workflow automation or helping to streamline processes. For example, I have in my business, I have some, posts that I want to do on social media. Sometimes I want to write a YouTube video for my channel and I want to write the script. And I'm like, I have a couple of ideas, but I don't know what people want to know. Like, I don't know everything because I'm so, not to say I have the curse of knowledge as an expert in my field, meaning that I know a lot and I just don't know what to tell people that would be valuable. So I'll ask ChatGPT, hey, write me an 8-minute YouTube video script on this with this as the title, and it'll crank out some things. I'm like, oh, hey, that's actually pretty good. And then I'll go in there and I'll say what I want, but I'll use that as kind of like a foundation for
modify
it. And I don't do that for every video, but I think that in some ways, AI can be very helpful for that kind of stuff. I think where it's going to be scary is once we start getting into more robotics and more to for example, I know a lot of these, I think that even like food places like McDonald's, they have no employee. McDonald's that's like, who's running that thing? It's just all AI, so to speak, automations. And that's going to be, that's what gets me scared.
I'm honestly less worried about that and more worried about the nefarious use of AI for spoofing people, right?
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Right?
You're right.
You guys remember deep fake was huge for a few years, right? It's still out there, but people don't talk about it as much. And they use AI and deep fake technology to recreate people's voices and do phone calls. Like I was just seeing this, I think last week, one of my friends in Texas. Hey, everyone help, please pray for my son. He just got arrested. And I'm like, what? He called me from the jail and I need to wire money. And the first comment below, do not wire money. The jail never asks for wired money from an individual through this method. Like, they're just like, da, 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 I work with the jail. Don't do this.
Oh, wow.
It's a lie. And he's like, call your son. So she ended up calling her son. He's like, hey, what's up? She's like, I thought you were in jail. Nope. What? It sounded like you even knew stuff. Like, so there's a huge concern with the nefarious use of technologies, right? In all technologies. And if we want to go back to what's really going on, look at the programming in television and in radio for the last 50 years, right? Everything is to a purpose. Desensitizing us, getting us complacent, getting us commercialized to buy stuff. I don't think that's any different than where AI is trying to take us. Do I think we're going to turn into a robotics infused situation where Terminator's going to come back and look for John Connor? No. Right. Do I think we're running towards a Matrix lifestyle? No. But that's because I'm a biblical person. I love the scriptures. I know what they say, and it's different than everything else. And so I'm more worried about the short term. What are people going to do with it to continue to manipulate and steal? And what is the government vis-a-vis world powers using it for going forward? That's what I'm more concerned about.
Along the same lines, Scott, I know a lot of there was something about how if you get a phone call from a mysterious number and you answer and nobody responds, you should hang up right away without saying too many more words, because they're recording your voice sometimes. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if it's 100% accurate, but I don't doubt it. And so whenever I get a call and it's like, hello, how are you? Or hello, this is Paris. Sometimes if there's no answer, I'm like, sí, buenas tardes. I'll start speaking in Spanish to mess them up and see if the recording, like, I'll throw it up, or I'll like, hello, this is Paris.
I get those all the time. Yeah.
I'll throw a little zombie voice in there to kind of mess it up. But, if there's nobody answering, why not have a little fun with it? But so just be careful, I think, out there. I know for sure that's happening. I know that there's a lot of like bots that are replicating profiles on Instagram, Facebook, and other places. So just be careful of those. And there's a huge scam. I know I deal with a lot of senior citizens, and there's a huge scam going on with that whole same thing. Like, it wasn't their son call, my son, your son's in jail, please call and wire the money. More of it's like, hey, I just, they're drawing on the heartstrings of these seniors. Hey, we get this horrible situation. Please donate money. And before you know it, bam. I mean, there was a great movie that just came out. What's it called? The Beekeeper, where they scammed that lady out of millions of dollars. And that's a legit thing happening on a regular basis. And I promise you, they're using more and more technology to accomplish those nefarious purposes. So definitely be ready and be prepared for those things, and tell your family that what's available, what's out there, and what's possible. Not that we want to be freaked out about every phone call we get or everything that comes in, but we definitely need to be aware of that kind of stuff as possibility.
Well, it's just like what we're going to talk about in our next segment is about, cyber attack, about cybersecurity. And I think these kind of go hand in hand without going down that rabbit hole. But I think AI is, like you say, it's going to be used for nefarious purposes to manipulate us. And that's one thing I think where it can be extremely smart, smarter than most people can be, because I don't know how to be manipulative. At least not consciously or competently, and whereas a machine can absolutely use all that programming, like for example, Tesla with their self-driving feature, they are collecting so much data with through their cars, being connected constantly and feeding that machine with all that data. They are also using this conversation right now, listening and feeding AI to have nefarious companies or individual groups or whatever take that data and use it for their own purposes, right? To manipulate us somehow. And I can't even begin to think of what ways those might be. But like you say, Paris, I get a phone call and I get no noise on the other side. I'm like, how does that make any sense? If a company is really trying to get my business, they're going to have they're going to have a system that immediately greets me and wants me to interact with them and not immediately hang up. How does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so I am very skeptical, and I will continue to be until I'm proven wrong. Right?
Have you guys ever read the book Dumbing Down of America?
Haven't read
No,
the
but
book.
I've heard of it.
It's fantastic. It basically recaps the last 100 years in the educational system in the United States and how much it's reduced our basic knowledge, our critical thinking, our problem-solving abilities, and replaced it with rote memorization, which does nothing for you.
Yeah.
I'm a data hog. I know lots of stuff, but can't do anything. And that's where we found one of the results of that is people lack common sense, decision-based thinking. They're like, okay, does this mean this, or do I need to weigh out other options to figure out what that really will do? They cannot come to those types of, they can't create logic and reasoning based results.
Yeah, I heard of a survey or a study that was done followed a group of children from before kindergarten through a certain grade, and a good percentage, I would say over 50%, actually tested as genius level before they went to school.
Yes.
And as they went through school, each year they more and more fell out of that group of geniuses. And no, this is taking us down a different road, but no, you're absolutely right, Scott. And I think this is just another way to manipulate that as well. I mean, it could be used. It could be used. Yeah, exactly. That's why you went down that road.
I can no longer have to think about things too hard. So I can chase the dopamine on the TikTok or wherever else.
Let AI do it.
Instagram, and let AI figure out my job for me. That's dangerous. Or I can let AI figure out, is my relationship still worth being in? Why would you let anyone else decide that other than you and your loved one, right?
Yeah,
exactly. Yep.
It's another tool to cripple us from being able to live independently and live free. And so
make choices for yourself.
Yeah. And I know we're short on time. We got about 5-10 minutes left, but
I think that's
looking at it from a scope or perspective of individual impact, I don't see any good with anyone else using AI on my behalf. Looking at it from a national perspective, I think it's a huge threat, especially for nefarious purposes against organizations, whether it's a country, whether it's a company. Like, I think there are more negatives with the use of it than positives. And what's funny to me is even OpenAI, which is an AI system, has done reports on how detrimental this is going to be to national level jobs. They did a survey with over 200 governments, interviewing for a year, and they said that the impact of AI on over 200 governments could be absolutely catastrophic and could wipe out humans as a race entirely. Okay, is that real or not? I think that's complete BS.
It's pushing it.
But I think it's a message to manipulate people and freak us out because we lack critical thinking skills.
Yeah, I think.
Well, I think.
No, go ahead, Paris. I'm getting ahead of myself here for what we want.
Artificial intelligence, what it will do is it scours the internet for information and data. And if the nefarious people are constantly posting how breathing causes a carbon footprint that is negative to the world, and then AI is like, oh, well, that means humans shouldn't be breathing. So now it's going to generate ways for marketing, ways for that content to be more prevalent in our searches, more prevalent in our studies, in our what we're doing in our life. It's going to have that message going out more and more and more. Oh yeah, we shouldn't have more kids. Oh yeah, we shouldn't be, all the things that programming. I think AI is going to just heighten that, which is why I think that we need, for example, if you're a good Christian, conservative, even if you're not necessarily Christian, if you're a good person who believes in justice and liberty and truth, you need to be saying things, because the AI is going to see that too. It's going to see what's the good and what the positive and the conservative values are. And it's going to say, wait a minute, we got this conflicting voice here. And the AI is going to have to make a choice what to do. And I feel like the more information we could get out there that's good, that's true, that's constant, that's conservative, that's value-based, it's moral and liberty-based, I feel like we're gonna we can overcome it with that. At least we can fight against it as much as
Hopefully,
possible, as long as possible.
hopefully that's the case. I don't know if I've seen that so far, but
You're right. That's because maybe we're not talking as much as we ought to as a conservative people.
yeah, that's true. Because right now, hopefully, this is feeding AI. But of course, I'm got to go and refer to the 1828 dictionary. Right, I looked up the words artificial and intelligence. Right, so artificial, the words that popped out to me: contrived, opposition to natural, feigned, invented. That's what artificial is. This is fake. The word, it comes to me, it's fake. And then intelligence, it's about skill, it's about understanding. And it is, if you think about intelligence, it is a spiritual word, right? That word is absolutely spiritual, which is the opposite of artificial intelligence. It is the absolute opposite. So what do we think of is what's the opposite of spiritual? And I think, that's pretty obvious there what the opposite of spiritual is. So I don't know that I want to touch anything that is not that
Real.
is working in opposition to actual intelligence, spiritual intelligence. And sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying that's interesting. That's really
Yeah.
interesting.
And obviously, like you say, Paris, right now we're helping out AA. What we're doing, it can't do anything without us. And I think what we've seen some of these AI results that I've seen some people actually do searches, and it definitely biases toward the left. So I don't know that I have any hope with technology. I'm and I've said this multiple times. I'm stepping away from technology. I don't have enough confidence, I'm all about the real money, real wealth, those types of things, and then like we were saying, I think eventually in the end is because this will eliminate jobs. And I think part of this is to eventually get us to UBI, right? Universal basic income, which equals more slavery. I would say equals slavery. We're already slaves. We're already in a slave system. But by getting us into, AI is now taking over all the jobs. We now have to create a universal basic income for the people that support themselves, but that is going to be subject to and conditioned to our complying with certain things, right? So I don't see much good coming from AI, especially because of the people who are running it and feeding it, programming it, and such. So I'll kind of shut up there.
So to go back to what I was talking about the impact globally on governments, I just want to let everyone know it's a Time magazine, time.com article from the beginning of March. So if you want to go check it out, it's AI Extinction National Security Risks Report. So, but yeah, I don't think a whole lot of good can come from AI. I think the creativity of mankind is way more impressive to me. If you look at the art alone that comes out of AI, it is disturbing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
People with extra legs, like, please put a rolling field of daisies and my wife and I skipping through the forest, and it's like you've got 4 arms. You're like,
but
what?
Yeah, but it's also portraying a false sense of reality as well. It's by the perfection. Obviously, it sounds to me like modeling. Not that I think that's a great aspiration for kids. Become a model. And that's going away because they can create absolutely perfect models, and it is again kind of going back toward the UBI portion of it. Is that it's taking away freedom of choice, or rather the desire to choose for yourself, right? Let's let AI make all decisions for me because it's smarter and wiser. And I've even heard that there are religions that are working on being based around AI.
Wow.
And we know that simply these globalists who do not believe in God, they don't believe in any kind of creator. They think they're so smart in and of themselves. It's really quite disturbing.
That's
So,
real. I think
okay.
one of the big things too about genius level stuff is creativity. When
Mhm.
when we can, the human imagination, the ability to create in our own minds something is what's really gotten us to where we are. And that's where you have to stop and say, look, how far can our creativity take us? And are we past the point of no return, or are we past the point of diminishing returns? So that school system is designed to keep you to
Mhm.
squelch all creativity. And that's why
Mhm.
we become dumber. And so my idea is that, and we just got a message from my kids' school today. Hey, we want to promote your kids getting away from technology over the summer. They get out and do things and have fun, go outside and play and other things. And I'm like, yes, that's a good promotion. That's a good idea.
Mhm.
Let's go out and enjoy nature. Let's become creative, and let's get our own personal human creative juices going again.
Yep.
Let's get a friend of mine calls it. He says there's two kinds of AI. There's artificial intelligence, and then there's authentic intelligence. And I'm like, I like that AI.
Mhm. Yeah,
So I'm going to try
absolutely.
to build some authentic intelligence
Authentic intelligence.
in myself and in those that are around me. So
Yeah.
that's my final thought.
Cool. Yeah, I got one last thought that I kind of want to I forgot about is that obviously what AI is doing is reducing our need to work, right? But life is based around work, not necessarily working for someone else, not necessarily working to make someone else wealthy, but it's just about improving ourselves and working. And I think that can only be done through work. Like I say, it doesn't have to be a job like we go to the 9 to 5. But I mean, look back to Adam and Eve. By the sweat of thy brow, you'll eat all the days of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Life is based around work, and if that's getting eliminated, so is personal growth.
Good point.
What's funny is I just had this conversation with a friend of ours. We were talking about what is the first commandment that God gave Adam and Eve.
To go and dress this garden. That's the
Thank
first
you.
commandment.
And he
You
put
talking to
a
John?
staple
You're
on
talking
that.
to John?
I was talking to John.
Yeah.
He's going to be on the
Yeah.
show in the next few weeks. I'm trying to work out dates.
Nice.
So for those of you guys who remember John Roberts, Big John, he's living off grid. He's doing regenerative farming, and it's fantastic, super cool stuff he's doing. But we were talking about this commandment and how often overlooked. Everyone's like, oh, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. And that's the fun part, right? But go to and dress this garden.
That was the first
By the
commandment.
sweat of thy brow shalt thou work all the days of thy life. It's not just a command, it's instruction for a quality of
Mhm.
life.
Mm-hmm.
The more we can get out and do, the more we can be the intelligence instead of leaning on something else, the better. I got my kids into baseball this year. And my son, who is completely wanting to be all technology all the time, all of a sudden is excited to go outside. And he doesn't like going outside. He's on the autism spectrum. So there's some challenges with getting him to go outside because textures and sunlight and noises. And what's
Mhm.
great is now he's like stoked to play with his catcher's mitt. It's not a catcher's mitt. It's just a regular mitt.
Well, it's
He's
important to
like,
have a
Dad, it's
stick
my,
in your hand.
yeah. And going and doing things. And we need to be doing more. And I think my final thought on this whole episode is, sure, AI seems nice and shiny, but most shiny things aren't as good as reality,
Mhm.
aren't as good as you think. It's a shiny object syndrome. People are going to chase it and chase it and chase it, and it's getting you away from further from the truth and
Yep.
from reality. And the better we can be in touch with reality, the better we'll be free the rest of our eternity.
Amen.
Amen to that. Well, you guys have been listening to Prepper Talk Radio, Radio for the Ready-Minded. We're super excited that you took time to be with us today. Make sure you hit up our affiliate links down below. And Survival Frog is one of our favorites. They have some great survival gear. They have some great survival food. One of our favorite foods is their canned meat. It's actually cooked in a way that it lasts for a long time and it tastes good still. And then also check out Jace Medical. We haven't talked about them in a while, but Jace Medical still got some great services, and they're doing some great things, bringing, especially with a lot of the supply chain issues over from China, huge opportunity for us to get a storage of medicine in our storage.
And for those of you guys in Canada, Jace just announced they got some changes with their supply chain, and the price is like $100 less now than it used to be. So if you're in Canada, check it out, jacemedical.com. Use the code PrepperTalk. You'll get another $10 off. But yeah,
$10
they
off.
just announced that today. I'm like,
All of our affiliate links are pretty much Prepper Talk. So use Prepper Talk wherever you go and get a discount and get prepared. Stay ready-minded, be better prepared, and use authentic intelligence as much as you can. Take
Amen.
care. See you on the next one.
See you next week.